Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to On the Other Side, Leadership After Transition. Today, I have an awesome guest, and I can't wait for y'all to meet him. Hey, look, I met him on Facebook, and the very first time I saw him was on Facebook Live doing some great stuff, and we'll talk about that. He doesn't even know it because I never told him. But anyhow, I'm gonna introduce him right now. I'm bringing him on. Here he is, Mr. Eric Mitchell. How are you today, sir?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing today?
Doing good. So I'm down here in Florida. It rained all for the last 3 days. And now it's sunny and hot and humid. Where are you coming to or from to us now?
This week, I'm at our office in beautiful Beaverton, Oregon, home of Nike. And it's ironic, you have rain and we have dry weather. So I think everything is bizarro world right now. I think we're going to get rain like next week. And mind you, we rain like 9 months out of 12. So we're excited because hands down, the Pacific Northwest is the most beautiful place you can go in the country during the summer. Seriously, the weather is cooler. It's crystal clear. It doesn't rain, and you can't get better weather. It's like the hottest we'll get is like 80, 88. It cools down at night. It's pretty. We have mountains. They still have snow on them. I'm not one of those people who gets into that, but I'm like, man, okay, it's magical for like 4 months. And you're like, yeah, and then it rains all the time, and you're like, this sucks.
Yeah, it cools down here too to about 92, and you're about to pass out. But you're from this area originally, so you get it.
Oh yeah, it's not like I remember growing up as a kid going to Disney World. I grew up in Orlando, and going to Disney World, I remember those sporadic Disney rainstorms where everybody, like the tourists, are all hovering, and the Floridians are just like cruising around because they know it's just like a 15-minute storm.
Right.
No one's parkas and all that stuff. Disney's making a killing of people from like the Midwest. They're like, oh my god.
Of course. All right, so let's get into some of the conversation. Give me a little bit of background about who Eric Mitchell is. So you were growing up, you're in the Orlando area. Kind of walk me through your growing up, not from like 3 or nothing, but into your decision to join the Marine Corps, and then kind of take me through that time of your life.
You have to be careful when you're asking a Marine. I'm like, so one night my parents, oh, no, not one very beginning story. No. Yeah, so I grew up in Orlando. I'm originally from Orlando. I joined the Marine. I actually moved out to California, to Folsom, California, in the early 90s. Big, I know. I moved out there. I enlisted in the Marine Corps my senior year, joined the Corps, and graduated boot camp November 11th, 1994. So I'm like, whew, that's a long time ago.
It's the birthday.
Wow, it's the day after.
That's Veterans Day, right? I mean, that's same area.
Extra day. It's called Hangover Day for Marines, otherwise known as Veterans Day for the rest of you all. And the Coast Guard just calls it the day after the Marine Corps birthday. Homeland Security doesn't get Veterans Day off, do they? Oh, too soon?
Mm-hmm.
That's me. No, I joined the Corps. I swear I have a boring story. I was in 0311. I went in guaranteed infantry. Staff Sergeant Stim from the Fair Oaks Recruiting Office. Thank you very much for telling me that the infantry is the way to go. So I did the Corps. I stayed in for my standard RIP tour of 4. I did some reserve time out of Sacramento when I went home. Was actually out of the Rio. It's Fourth Marines. It still is. God knows it was so long ago. I went in, got out, decided to go into the Sacramento Sheriff's Academy. 9/11 happened, so I luckily got to go back to reserve duty.
Mm-hmm.
And then got out and got into tech. Actually, I got out. I didn't get deployed anywhere. I was really boring. I was in the rear with the gear. So, yeah. And right now, there's probably some post 9/11 person pissed off at me, like, you didn't go. And I'm like, dude, I was in a 94. You were in diapers. Be quiet. Sit down. It's just, I hear that crap and it drives me nuts. It's like, really? I went in at 94. I'm sorry, you're an infant. It's not my fault.
Right. You just went in a bad time, right? I mean, the timing is everything. I mean, you got guys that went in the 80s, never saw a thing of what a deployment would be.
Yeah, I had corporals that were like, they enlisted after the Gulf War and stayed in, and they got out like in 96. They saw nothing. Like, we got to go on some really fun, we went on pumps, like Westpacks. I mean, I'm shellback. I know a lot of Marines who deployed across the world, the shittier places than me, and I'm shellback and they're not. So, haha. Don't do that. But no, I joined the Corps, got out, got into tech actually when I got out, and I absolutely loved my time working in tech. I got my first job for a company called WebEx. WebEx got acquired by a very large Fortune 100 company. Went to work for them for way too many years. Got done working that job. I actually started my own job. We had our technology acquired by a very large company that Verizon ended up acquiring a few years back. And then my last job before I created the company that I own now, I actually worked for a company called EchoSign. Adobe ended up acquiring us. I was employee number 9 for EchoSign. All of those times I started off in sales and found a love for, number one, talking a lot, but also a love of mixing social media and the media in general. So I took, having a background as a grunt means I'm really good at drinking and many other things. PR is not one of them. Usually Marines are known as PR nightmares instead of, so I, like I said, wasn't a public affairs officer. I was an enlisted man. So really jumping into this was a lot of fun. It was actually at Adobe where I got to cut my teeth on major media. And for those of you who don't know, Adobe is the backdrop of like basically all media that we use today if you see it on digital media. So if you think about it with teams like with things like Twitter, Facebook, Adobe's back there actually monitoring. And I'll age myself here, but one of the biggest events when we were there that they were showing the power of social was the #1 event, 2014, I believe, was not the tsunami, not the killing of Osama bin Laden, but when Beyonce got up and said she was pregnant during the MTV Music Awards, it almost broke Twitter.
Wow, it's important. That's breaking news right there.
It's crazy how people look at it that way. And so it really opened my eyes to there's a lot to do. So when I was, one of the things when you do get acquired, if people are wondering, well, why'd you leave Adobe? Because Adobe was a great company. A lot of our senior management left, and it was time to go on our own. I mean, it's fun, but you reach a point where you want to. I had the entrepreneur bug real bad, and I'm a big fan of Mark Cuban. And Mark Cuban has famously said, you're either a wannapreneur or you're an entrepreneur. I didn't want to be a wannapreneur and decided to jump in all the way. Created this as just a consulting idea to create a PR company and decided where was I going to do it? And I was like, well, Silicon Valley, I know that environment pretty well, but it's crowded. Why don't I go? It's evergreen. There's not a lot of people in it. Why don't we go face the one group of people that I actually know how to talk to? I raised my right hand. I understand what it means to, service never ends. Let's give back to the vets community. It's an amazing community. Fell in love with looking at the clients that were out there, the folks that I wanted to target. He's not a client, which is funny, but Mark Rockefeller, who is a contributor for Forbes and also the CEO of StreetShares, he actually famously wrote an article for Forbes that listed the top 20, 25 veteran-owned companies in America. I saw that list about 8 months after I started. I kind of done it on my own using Twitter lists and all this stuff. And that's where I really got the bug to jump into PR and targeting, having veterans as clients, using that as our market to go after and own that vertical.
That's awesome. So what I want to do is I want to kind of go back to when you got out just for a moment. I know we're going this way, but we're going to come back just for a moment. So it's interesting to me that you're an infantryman and then you decide to go into the tech and PR world. And I just want to ask, one, was that easy? And two, what made you think that that was a good idea? I mean, it obviously is a great idea since tech is that way. I mean, it's where we're going. Everything's technical nowadays. But what was it that made you think that infantry background, this is a great idea, I should just jump into something I have no idea about?
Oh, geez. God. So what I left out in that story is the 8 bazillion jobs I had in between, secondary jobs. They call it side hustle now if you watch Uber commercials. I thought my career when I got out of the Corps would be a longshoreman. My beautiful wife, who's also the co-founder of LifeLift. Her father, who since has passed, he was a retired longshoreman for the ILWU, which is the largest longshoreman union on the West Coast. Got me into the port of Stockton. We were living in California. Stockton, California is the most it's the most eastern port in the country. Like it takes 8.5 hours to come up the channel. So I had to go and I thought I was gonna be a longshoreman, right? So I transitioned. I ended up going in. You go in as an unidentified casual, and you stand on a line, and literally some dude who chain smokes Marlboro Reds, probably if he ever of course, the first time I met him told me how he was going to join, which is always my favorite thing to hear. It's like, I don't know why people need to qualify that as like a qualifier when you talk to somebody that you need to then tell us that you didn't serve, but you almost did. It's like,
it's a typical, it's an icebreaker maybe.
I'm like, okay, thanks you, but they mess with you. And like, so you had to stand on line and literally get picked to go to work. And you were fired every day at the end of the day. It's very humbling when you go from being in the Marine Corps, where you wear a uniform, everything kind of goes its way. And then all of a sudden you're dealing with these guys that literally hate your guts, which is very similar to being a boot. But you're a boot like every day. And it never changes for years at a time. So I did that while I worked a full-time job. Where did I decide going from infantry? It was weird. It was, I just got the bug, and I love talking tech. To be honest, a recruiter came to me and said, "Ooh, do you want to make business development calls?" They call them BDRs now, and make phone calls. And you get to go work for this company in San Jose, and they feed you breakfast, lunch, and dinner sometimes, and they have trips. Well, you know what we make in the military. You don't join for the pay, right? None of us, anybody listening to this is like, no, we don't join for the benefits. So hey, I was Jones. This was awesome. Like, you show up, there's like coffee and like food, like good food, not like my cheap ass was buying when I got out, where you're eating like top ramen and stuff, right? Because you're like, I have to figure out my own now. Like, this was like real food, and they like took you to cool places. And you know, the Silicon Valley, I'm gonna age myself again, but the Silicon Valley was still was something newer, where all the cool stuff you see them doing now was brand new. Like, we went to go have team meetings at a Dave & Buster's, where we were there all day, and they were like, "Here's a coupon for $100 worth of tokens," and you're like, "Oh crap! I'm gonna go." Like, they're having this boring like death by PowerPoint. I'm gonna go play video games and say I'm going to the bathroom. Right. All these meetings there, and they would, they run out movie theaters for stuff. So for me, it was really interesting to get into that, and I fell in love with it because the job was really easy, and people made it seem really hard. It was call up Global 2000 businesses and book appointments for the sales guys. And during it, I learned the product, and they heard me doing it. I got lucky. I got on a phone call with Microsoft. Now, mind you, I was working for a company called WebEx. WebEx is doing what's funny. We're on AB Live. But think about back in the day, WebEx was the only game in town where you could have a virtual we could see you meeting. Right. That was solely based off of the events of 9/11. People wanted to be able to have meetings without traveling. The technology was caused by a tragedy. So here we are talking about it. So I ended up working with Microsoft, and they fell in love. And I literally had to fly up to Virginia, not Virginia. I flew up to Washington State, up to the Seattle area, and met with them. And I got to go with that team. And it was so weird because I'm like the nobody on the team. And they liked what I talked about. Came back. WebEx was like, "Here's your meeting, and this is what we want you to do." And they said, "Why don't you try? I'll become an intern in marketing and PR." And I did. And I fell in love with it because I got to talk to the media all the time and talk about the company. And I didn't have to feel like I was selling. It was more like, "Hey, here's our company, and this is what we're doing." Yeah. And it was fun because every day it was like a new pitch, and you get told no a lot. So it was a lot like my high school dating life. So it was very, really better.
That's awesome. So we have something in common. It's good. It's interesting. Before I joined the military, I had, various jobs, little things here and there. I was in high school, right? Since I got out, I wanted to learn how to sell. I had this great idea of owning this business, and instant money would come. I was a little naive, and I didn't think it was going to be instant, but I didn't realize the amount of effort, right? What I didn't realize was that I did not know how to sell. So I actually went and got a job at a car dealership, which, like I tell anybody, I loved it. If I could have worked that like from 8 to 3 or 8 to 2, I'd have done that for the rest of my life. But the hours were crushing me. But the one thing it showed me was selling is not difficult if you know the product, if you trust the product, and more importantly, they're buying you. And a car dealership is a little different than a lot of other things. They've, for the most part, in 2017, 18, they know what car they want. They look online. They come to see it. You're just the middleman. So can you talk to them and make them want to buy it from you? And so what I really learned, I guess, inadvertently, was I just had to be me. And it was a little bit easier to sell. And actually, since then, I've done very well in the sales game a little bit, because I realized I'm not trying to push a product. I'm just trying to have people trust in what I have to offer, right? So it's pretty interesting.
It's true. I mean, I tried the card game. I actually was working a card job when I got the call to go start getting the tech. I was working at the Roseville Auto Mall, and I loved it. I didn't like the hours, but I loved the game because they had, and that was pretty cool. Walking in and somebody handing you stone cold cash for closing deals, besides getting paid ridiculous on car deals, and it was true. Like, go up as long as you knew the. I was amazed with the people who didn't, and I had this old crusty guy who taught me it's all about the product and how you talk to people and you're knowledgeable. You know, he had the expander pants on and everything, and he walked from like the hood all the way through, showed me, and I literally did his speech verbatim, and it worked. I was like, oh, because you sit down and it was fun for me. Number one, you have to, it's fun to talk to people, right? I think that's something sales, no matter what it is, teaches you. But car sales is very humbling, where you get told no and you have to overcome that a lot. But you know, you go for the victories, not your failures.
No, you're right, and I like. I just like the fact that you say it, and that's what really excites me about even talking about why you're where you're at. It's like the challenge. You rose to the challenge. You found it interesting, but you were like, man, the more you did it, the more you wanted to do it. And it's the same with the entrepreneurial conversation. It's a bug, but what is the bug? It's the no. Okay, but I know I can get this guy. I know I can get that. I know I can do this, and you just keep pushing forward. It's pretty interesting just to hear you say it. I mean, obviously you've been very successful. So tell me now. What are you doing now? I mean, I know you leaned towards it, but I want let's hear it. What is the now?
Now I am the CEO of LifeFlip Media. We are a PR firm. We are the voice of the warrior class. So we are a PR agency that focuses on veteran and milspouse-owned brands and influencers in our space. So basically, what that means is if you turn on your TV, you turn on your radio. Those are our folks, our influencers, our brands that are represented out there. We were very fortunate, and I will always credit a lot of our jump to where we're at today to Daniel Allert from Gruntstyle, the CEO, taking a chance with us, having him give a chance for us really helped. Daniel is an incredible entrepreneur. Not only do I consider him a friend, but he's a real mentor of mine. Really helped me kind of see the space, what he's built, what Evan Hafner at Black Rifles built, and even the folks over at Ranger Up. I almost called them Range 15. They're like, no, it's the movie, not our brand. Even though the folks at Range, if you look at those three, those are all big key players. I mean, just look at what they're doing in the space. The veteran space is amazing. The mill spouses are out there. I mean, their brands are amazing. The folks at our Riveter, you see Sword and Plow. You see Mutt Sauce, Charlie the Scales is just killing it out there with her brands. You have so many folks out there, so we come in and we help them get their brands, get the national attention. We do all the fun stuff. We work on branding. You see us also do production. We have a full production team. Aaron Childress is the host of the Outdoorsman show. Just got picked up for 2 seasons. He runs all of our production team. So we have a lot of Marines. So my COO is which is funny. So I'm enlisted. And my COO, my second in command, is Mike Clinton, who was a major in the United States Marine Corps. So most of our team is prior service, and most of them are Marine. I don't know how that happened. I swear. I didn't do that on purpose.
Wing.
So a lot of my guys are Marines. We do have, we work exclusively with Wise Advice. That's Laura Early's company. Amazing team. So a lot of our team is mill spouse also. So it's when I built LifeFlip, one of the requirements is I wanted to maintain the same level that I see these big gigantic companies maintaining, which is hiring veterans and mill spouse. Not that I don't think civilians can't do the job. I just want to give back to my own folks and give them an opportunity to cut their teeth. Because anybody who comes from the Silicon Valley, I know they can say the right things. Are they going to be hungry enough and believe in the mission? And I know vets and mill spouses all believe in our mission, right? We all know that service really never ends, and we all believe on the same goal. So LifeFlip's goal is to put everybody's voice out there so they compete at the same level as these big, gigantic billion-dollar brands. So it's been a lot of fun as we've been able to do this the past going on 4 years.
That's awesome. I love it. So the very first time I saw you, right, and I alluded to it earlier, but the very first time I saw you, we became friends. I want to say, and I don't want to quote myself, but I'm going to say we met through military influencers, I think, a Facebook group, Curtis Riggs. I mean, he started that, and I was supposed to be in Dallas. That's actually the first week I had started the Ford dealership. I couldn't get off work. I just started, so I didn't go, but I sent somebody in my place. But anyway, you were at the Vetties, right? Doing a Facebook Live, and you were talking about the Vetties, and I'm dumb. I guess I'm slow, right? So I'd never heard of the Vetties before, but I was like, oh, this guy is at the Vetties. I'm going to see what the Vetties are. So I actually Googled it, and I was like, Veteran Awards is like an academy of veterans, right? And I said, wow. So I did some research. So I want you to tell me, one, how did you hear of that? And then more importantly, tell the listeners what it is. I mean, not a lot of folks, it's really unreal to me how many people don't know it exists. I'm just thankful I do know.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up. One of the great things is number one, when I was listing all the folks that we work with, one of our biggest partners that we have is the Military Influencers Conference in Cortez Rings. A lot of success that LifeFlip has been from the relationships that we've maintained from working with Cortez before that even became a conference. So I always want to make sure I give a shout out to my guy. I love that guy. I can't wait for Orlando. Anybody listening, you guys don't know, maybe I might cough up some people who haven't been announced yet. I don't know this. I don't know how this interview could go. I might want to. It's in Orlando in September. You have no excuse not to be there. Trust me, you're gonna want to be there. And I can hint one thing: beer. Sam Adams beer. Rumor has it they're gonna be there. I've heard this rumor, and I can confirm that it's very true. So I know. So the Vetty.
You'll see me for sure.
I'm looking forward to it. See, already happy. So go out and get your tickets. Go to LifeFlip. We'll tell you where it's at, or go to Military Influencers Conference, and Cortez will for surely tell you how to buy your tickets.
Without a doubt.
Sale again. Now I'm trying to infomercial. No, but the Vetties. Travis McVeigh, who is the Marine and founder of Heroes Vodka, a very good veteran-owned vodka brand, actually approached me about joining the Vetties, and a good friend of ours, another Marine, H.W. Floyd, who is obviously a retired United States Marine, lives in Washington, D.C. They came to me, asked me if I'd like to be a part of it. I said, sure. I didn't even know what it was, but I said yes, because when more than one Marine asks you to do something, it's hard to say no to it. We went to it. It was awesome. It was a cool experience. Number one, to be in the nation's capital, to be there with so many awesome fellow vets, to have us all in one room. It was very much like what I saw when I went to VetCon last year, when I went to MIC. Being in a room full of more than 100 of your own kind is pretty awesome, and everybody shares different stories, but it's fun. So you're walking I got to walk the red carpet. The first one I ever got to walk, I wore a tux. It was pretty awesome. I got to meet General Kelly, who the last time I actually had seen General Kelly was my Marine Corps boot camp graduation from MCR in San Diego, because he was the base general then, way back in '94, and he sat next to my grandfather, who was a full-bird colonel. Since passed, but it was kind of one of those things. So we had a great chat. Funny side note story that those of you will laugh. So my wife on her upper arm has a tattoo that is, it says Destiny, but it's in Chinese, whatever that language would be. It's like sticks and wind and crap. She's probably listening going, but she's there, and General Kelly pointed to her, and mind you, I'm hearing this secondhand. General Kelly goes, what's that mean? And my wife goes, it's because I was in a gang. My gang tattoo. She just thought it was just some other like older dude there that she was just being funny with, because she hangs out with all vets. Yeah. And like 10 minutes later, I come around and we're doing PR, so we're trying to get General Kelly over to do an interview with Fox. And I start talking to him, and I'm like, "Oh, I want to introduce you to my wife, sir." And he's like, "We already met. She was in a gang." And I'm like, "Honey, this is the chief of staff of the White House."
That's awesome.
But it was, the Vetties was awesome. It's a great cause. It's great. Anytime we get together and honor each other, we were able to do that. A lot of media attention there. A lot of great folks were there. Nate Boyer, Eli Crane from Bottle Breacher and Shark Tank, Jared Lyon, who was doing, with the Student Veteran Association. Jared just killing it out there. So being part of that was awesome. It really opened my eyes that DC is the place to be when it comes to a lot of things that are going on in the veteran world. It's also why 2 months later, LifeFlip Media opened an office in Washington, D.C., because it's that important to us. Everything that decides our world is there, and it's led to a lot of great things. A lot of people that I didn't know were in that room, I'm now very close to after that. So the Vetties are going to happen again. That is the United States Academy of Veterans. Asal runs that. She is awesome. are soon to be going to be announcing the new chairman of the board for the Vetties. I know who it is, but can't share it this time. But trust me, everyone's gonna like the selection. It's just a fun thing. I'm hoping to be back as a board member again this year and get people involved in it again. And again, you want to come out. There will be celebrities. Montel Williams was there. Yeah, it's different than Montel Jordan. And the way I just remember that is actually saying that song real fast.
Right.
So, now you're going, this is how we do. Okay. No, Montel was there. You know, he was a Navy and a Marine. And it was great to have him there. He really brought down the house with his. He really fired everybody up. And the cool thing is he no longer is our secretary of the VA, but VA Shulkin was there, and Secretary Shulkin was sitting there, and he was sitting at the same table with General Kelly. And freaking Montel came out and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna make change. We need to make changes at the VA. Look around this room, and you can see all." And everybody was like, "Man, it's good to be us and not you, bro." Like, how does that feel? Montel's coming out on fire at it. So it was funny that 2 months later I would go to another event. The Hill Vets was 2 months later at the U.S. Chamber, and he was fired the day before, literally the evening before he was to be the keynote speaker.
Yeah, well, good on him. Well, the one thing I'll say is I didn't see Montel speak then. I just you had been panning around, kind of just doing an introduction of different things, and I was just watching it, thinking, wow, that's pretty interesting. And you had a whole bunch of folks with you, and a lot of those folks I actually seen in the Military Influencers page, and I connected with a bunch of them because of that. I mean, it's nice to put faces to names and see a personality as opposed to just a picture on a LinkedIn page or a Facebook page. But nonetheless, I reached out to them. But anyway. Montel Williams, I actually got to see him or hear him speak years after he was off his show, and just a lot of folks didn't know his history within the military, but I got to hear him speak one time, and that man can speak. I mean, when he speaks, it's powerful. I mean, it really is, and he knows what to do and how to interact. I really like it. I like listening to him talk. He's very powerful.
He's an amazing guy to talk to. I think one of the cool things that the Vetties proved to me. It's also why I have a relationship with a lot of Hollywood, is they had some actors from, well, it's odd that I'm talking about it today after I read last night that people I'm going to mention, their shows got canceled. But they had some actors who were there for the show Valor and Brave. One was on the CW, the other was on NBC. And it was funny to have actors go up and talk to Eli Crane or to Salvador, who runs Battlegrounds Coffee. Both guys were Team 3. Both of them, their boss was Chris Kyle when they were first deployed. And to watch these guys who play SEALs on TV meet real SEALs, it's so fun. It's a great experience to watch happen, because not that being any other thing is difficult, but buds to me is oh my God, these guys are crazy. Yeah. And you see the actors who play them, and they didn't have to go through any of the training they do, and they get to wear the trident and be all little, look at me. Right. And it's funny, they were very humbled to be around guys like Eli and Saul, and also around Nate Boyer. Yeah. I mean, but the funny moment, here's the difference between people who get geek out on celebrities and people in our world that geek out on different things. Vets weren't really into the celebs. They were oh, it's cool. Doing shots with Ann Hesh was pretty cool. But the funniest moment I had was my wife got to meet 2 members of the Old Guard. And their uniforms are really cool, but she was fascinated by the Old Guard. Rico, we have our silent drill team. And trust me, they're as badass as it gets. But to see the Old Guard, those guys are, their uniforms are squared away. And even when they're out in public, it's yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, their answer. She was so a year ago, we were here for an 8th grade trip. I'm honey, he doesn't remember.
Telling her life story, and they're yeah, thanks, appreciate it. It's funny.
She's fangirling over being a Old Guard. I'm honey, he just worked a shift. He just remember when you're on duty and you're walking that post, you're not oh, that blonde-haired woman is here.
No, that's so awesome. That's got to be a great experience. So let me move it this way. So I believe anyway. I mean, I served 20 years. I'm no better or worse than someone that served for 2 months. I've never looked at it in my entire life like that. The one thing I know for certain is the moment you get off the bus for whatever basic training it is you're going through, whether it be the Navy or the Air Force, the Marines or the Army, you start learning leadership. You might not become the squad leader or whatever. You start learning because you see it in and out. Basic training is constant. You see what you're supposed to be, right? The drill instructors, the drill sergeants for the Army folks, technical instructors for the Air Force. You see what you're supposed to be, and then you start getting into your real life, and you start learning leadership. I'd have to ask you, as you left and you started doing these different things, whether they were the side hustle type jobs, as you started going into the PR and kind of learning those things, what would you say, what leadership qualities did you take with you from the Marine Corps? Not just your love for the service, because that obviously that's gotten you pretty far, and I enjoy it. But what are those qualities that you feel that you took with you into what you're doing right now?
Well, obviously, love what I do. I think the main reason why LifeLift is successful is because I built it off of a motto that I just love, which is service never ends. When I took my oath back in '94 in Oakland, California at MEPS, good God, it was a long time ago, but I did it like at 3 a.m., long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It was that belief that my service never ended. Yeah, my time in a uniform may have changed, but that service, that calling to help others, and I also have a calling that I don't want to be. I don't want to be famous. So many people, when they come out, their ego gets in the way, and they think it makes a difference that they do. And you can't hold. Not that being a veteran isn't a title to be proud of, but it's also humbling that you can't walk around and your recruiter probably wasn't honest with you, and your transition class probably didn't tell you. But 90% of the folks really don't care that we're vets. Like, they just don't. It's not like you can walk in and be like, I was a United States Marine, and you're going to hire me because I was a Marine. They're like, thank you for your service. And you're like, yep. So that's where you're at. So one of the big things is, I think one of the leadership traits is we come out, and I heard this best recently, actually, when I was chatting with Daniel out from Grunt Style. Daniel brought this up. A lot of our time in service, we're spent very, we put on the same uniform, we put it on, we go do, everything's very like, we know what we're doing and our culture's there and we're led by it. We always have a leader, someone who's leading, and then we become leaders ourselves, but then we always have somebody, a superior officer. I think as we get out, that's the hardest thing, is you have to learn how to structure yourself and become your own platoon sergeant, your own whatever you had, division head. You literally have to learn how to lead yourself before you can do anything, because you're going to come out and you're going to go through that separation where it's like, I'm going to grow my vet beard. I'm going to go get my, it's like you regress to be a boot, but then you're like a boot with a beard. I don't know why everyone thinks when you get out you need to do that. It's like slapping an American flag on your hat doesn't make you any more of a veteran than it does the next guy. I mean, I get you're working for an apparel company, but I don't get it if you just think you need to come out and do it. It's like you need to lead yourself and know what you want to do. And it's hard because you come out and your MOS may have been one thing and you're going to go do another. And it's just your drive and your passion and believing in others. And I think one of the biggest leadership things I would tell people, and I don't know if it's a leadership trait, but ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask others for help. Yep. We're blessed now in 2017 and 18 to have products like Veterati, what they've built, and a big shout out to both of Diana and her husband, Daniel. They built an amazing platform that I'm happy to be a mentor on. But I think that's a big thing for the folks now. And even if you transitioned years ago, you're old and crusty like me, you could still go get mentorship. There's some amazing folks on there that are mentoring. You should go out there and do that. It's an important part to know to ask for help and always be learning. Never be the smartest person in the room. I don't have that problem as a crayon eater. Everyone's smarter than me in the room. But I seriously go out, have a mentor. You can never be so prideful not to have a mentor and not always want to help people. I think we get so set with our blinders on when we transition out. It's like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this. But you have to have plan B, plan C, plan D, and sometimes EF, because everything that you think won't happen will happen during it. I mean, I thought I was going to walk into my first job interview and they were going to be like, hired. And instead you're like, what do I do? It was years later that I got to the point where I was like, well, they're like, do you have any questions? I'm like, yeah, what did you think? Are we going to discuss next steps? Like, you get to that point, but when you're fresh out, you're just like, it's just like when you enlisted, right? And you're like, the recruiter signed it, he was your buddy, patting you on the back. You're like, yeah, I got a T-shirt, a certificate. Not that way when you get out, and you have to like learn the difference, right? Not everything relates to what you served as, and you have to remember you are now back in the regular world with everyone else, and they all have their ways, and they're not going to conform to ours. Trust me. There's a reason why only 3% of us serve. Yeah. That number is this big, and there's more of them than us, and we have to conform to their ways. They're getting better at it, but I think one of the things is humble yourself and be hungry, and always, I hate to say this so I sound like Gary Vee, but always be hustling and putting in that extra charge and focus on making yourself better, because no one else is going to make you better but you. So knowledge is, again, I sound like I'm just like, knowledge is power.
But it's good information.
Deep buzzwords, you need to go do them. That's the leadership that I can give. It's probably piss poor, but
no, I don't think. As a matter of fact, I think it's probably one of the most valuable things that exists. You said it, and it's amazing to me. I believe. I mean, I talk to veterans all the time. I mean, I'm always around the veteran community. I don't think I spend a day away from it, no matter which aspect, right? So the one thing that I find very difficult talking to the veteran community is their desire. A lot of them are prideful. I'm a 20-year vet. I'm proud. Sometimes I just don't want to hear someone tell me what I should be doing, right? I didn't want to hear that when I was in uniform. And then when I leave, I keep that same hardened shell, but hey, I got this. Well, what I've truly realized in the past, I don't know, maybe a year or so, even less, is that you need to. A lot of folks need to ask for help, and it's not something to be shameful about. You shouldn't be feeling bad. Those organizations that exist, the Veteratis of the world, there's so many. I mean, and I love them because I try to connect to all of them just so I could point someone in that direction. Because here's the deal. John Maxwell said a long time ago, and I'm not going to start quoting all these people because I'm not really good at quotes. My memory is not that good. But John Maxwell talked about a child that walks when he falls. You don't say, okay, never mind. You're never going to learn how to walk. You've failed. No, you get them back up and you teach them how to walk, and it's a learning process. Well, nothing that you're doing right now is failing, whether it be from one job to the next job. It's learning. And just because you're an adult doesn't mean you stop learning, right? Not miraculously did you become a businessman because you read a book, and now if you don't do it right the first time, you've failed. Well, in the same aspect, as people have transitioned out of the military for the first time, because most of us don't transition twice, not most, I mean, just most, it's a learning process, and you have to be able to say, hey, listen, help me, you know what I mean? And it's okay. And if you have to say it in different words, so be it, but be humble, take a little bit of, that vulnerability, and be vulnerable and let someone help, because hell, you look at the homelessness, the veteran homelessness around here, it's not getting really any better. And I guarantee you, had some of those folks asked for help prior to, we wouldn't have much of I mean, it would still exist, don't get me wrong, but I think that you'd be able to help out a lot on the way. So great answer.
I think another point that we could discuss, if you want, is not being afraid to fail, nor admit that you have failed. It's something that I can speak of as a CEO of a company, something that we've had to learn as we grow. It's there's so many people out there who will be perfect, and they'll talk about how perfect they are, and they'll be quick to go to social media to tell you their greatness, right? And how, you should do it this way. And they don't tell you about all the times that they hit a bump in the road, they screwed up, they dropped the ball, their customer service for their company wasn't the best. I mean, and I learned that, and it was funny. As I learned, I was like, we don't have a problem. We'll never admit our faults. And then I walked the floor of some big companies, and I was like, wow, like they recognize their problem and they're trying to fix it. And there's ways that you can micromanage it, or you can deal with it in a million different ways. But until you accept failure and you're not afraid to go on a camera and go, look, we have screwed up and we're not perfect, but we're trying to fix it. Yes, you're going to lose customers when you admit to your faults. It's going to happen. You're going to lose one or two, but you have to fix it. And you have to be able to do that. It's something that I experience as a leader. I know other brands experience it. And if they're telling you they're not experiencing it, they're lying. And I don't know how anybody feels about that, but you wouldn't like that. It's like buying a car. And you and I can both speak to this. But if you have a car recalled, you can't go around telling you how great it is if a car's recalled. It's hard to recover from that. You go, yes, but you come up with a reason or why you should buy a car to still work it. All these, Ford's not out of business, Chevy's not out of business, and they've all had recalls. So what are they doing right? It's admitting their fault, which they do, even if they don't always want to, they do. And you have to keep in mind, that's the one thing in business that I've learned is it doesn't matter if they're a Fortune 100 company or a small business that has one person as an employee and like a couple customers in small town USA. We all have the same. We have to admit our faults and fix it in where we go, and admit when we do wrong and learn from our failures. And I think as vets, we know that. So in the Marine Corps, we call it adapt and overcome. And you have to pick up and dust yourself off and move forward. And yep, that happens. I mean, I've told people that, and I have no problem saying where we've messed up. Do people get pissy? Yeah, you do. And you can't make everybody happy. We all learned that a long time ago when we put on the uniform. Somebody's not going to be happy. Don't sweat that. Worry about the bigger numbers and the smaller numbers, right? I mean, let's face it, if we're going to go even deeper here, the NFL faced a huge issue last year and their attendance went down. But I watched the Super Bowl, as did a lot of people I know, and they had butts in every seat, and people bought those tickets and showed up and sold out those things. So don't think for a second the small crowd is affecting the big crowd, because those small people who are complaining really don't affect the grand number. Yeah, in the scheme of things, for a short amount of time, at the end of the day, when the season starts up in July, I know I'm not the only one who's fired up from another football season.
Oh yeah,
I'll be watching, and I don't care. Yeah, you know what? They have their right. I'm a little bit older, and I look at it in a different way. Yeah, I have friends who are amputees. Yeah, I see their point, but I also hang out and understand and talk to the players. Like, get their point of view. Don't just have the media feed you your stuff. Same thing goes for when you're working with people. Make your own judgment calls. Don't just go off of some angry, disgruntled person writing, I don't like this. Why don't they? I mean, your reason for liking them and them not liking them could be two different things.
Exactly. Well, sound bites are always great, right? They always help out so much. But yeah, just so you know, I'll be watching the whole training camp and then preseason. But I'm a Bills fan, so I have nothing to look forward to this year. But anyhow, so I would tell you, you spoke on accountability. That's what I mean. That's being accountable for successes and failures and all that stuff. It's important, and I think it breeds credibility, right? So the one thing as a leader, when I'd be in the military, I like to empower folks to do stuff. I didn't like to micromanage. It was just it was too much time for me to micromanage, and hell, them younger guys had a better vision. I mean, I might have a vision; they'd make it look beautiful, and I'd let them do their thing, but when they made mistakes, the big and I had great leaders that allowed me this opportunity too, is they'd ask me why I made the decision I made. I'd tell them the answer. And the only thing that they would do is, as long as I told them an answer, if I said I don't know, then I didn't deserve to be a leader, because you have to be able to, when you make a decision, it's for a reason, be it the right one or the wrong one, at least it was for a reason. But just don't say you don't know, and then go from there. And it's a lesson learned, and you move forward. So life goes on, right?
It's always about teaching. I think one of the things is always be coachable, right? It's funny that I say that now, because years ago I would never imagine turning around looking at myself going, did he just really say that? Like, but it is. It's being able to coach people, because there's a way that you can overreact. And even at being, leading life, I watched it happen. When I first started, everything was the end of the world, nuclear explosions. I was just, I thought, I sort of God, I think I gained half the gray hair I have, not from my teenage daughter, but from launching. But you learn that it's, a big book I love to read is Team of Teams. General McChrystal put that together. But it's a true idea. You don't need to micromanage. Most of my staff, over 75%, is not based in an office. Here, where I'm at, there we have a DC branch, San Antonio, Austin. Our production teams are remote between New York, Chicago, and Wichita. So we value that everybody's going to get their time management done and get their job done. And it's very simple. People adapt to it. So yeah, I'm drawn to, and again, it's not just why I will hire vets and hire, mill spouses, because that doesn't mean anything. It's like people getting mad at companies that say they're going to hire, they should hire more veterans. It's like, okay, some of us shouldn't make coffee. Some of us trust making a donut, okay? And donuts are really easy to make, but if you can't trust that, it doesn't mean I want everybody to do it. So just because you have the title veteran doesn't make you the greatest thing since sliced bread to do a job. So it's careful consideration. I mean, and some people just, they can't figure it out, and you want to coach them. But I mean, again, you have to be coachable. You have to want to learn, and you have to be able to truly work as a team. Can't be an individual, and people have to trust you. And it's a lot of learning how to trust. And it's doubly hard as a founder of a company when it's like your baby. So you take everything, like the little things are like, oh my God, the world's ending. And it's really like 10 minutes later, you're like, oh God, I shouldn't have done that.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's understandable. It's funny. There's a sense of entitlement in a lot of folks. And, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I don't think you're going to lose. There's an entitlement outside the military entitlement. And because people say so much, thank you for your service. I mean, it's become a, how are you? You know, when you say, how are you to someone, do you really want to know how they are? Or is that just another way to say hello? You know, when they actually stop to tell you, sometimes you're like, hey, hold on, guy. I only have like 5 seconds. I just was saying hi, man. I should have just said hi. But the same thing is thank you for your service. You had said it earlier. And to be honest with you, I felt that way. I mean, it happened. I can't tell you how many times within the first 3 months when I was on transition leave, as I'd go and people would be very interested to hear from me. They'd want me to invite me to their office. We'd have a conversation. They'd say, man, thank you so much for your service. I'd pitch them my little thing. And they say, yeah, I'm not the guy that can help you. So I'll have to push you over this way. And it was just, it was no one that would tell me yes, but no one that could tell me no. And you know, I didn't want to be so naive to think that I thank you for your service meant I'm going to give you money, you know, but at the same time, I was thinking, well, you say that you're thankful. I'm here and you like my story. Give me a chance. You know what I mean? But I didn't realize that I was being a little pushy and I probably wasn't too polished in this atmosphere. So when I got out and I sat back and realized, hey, I have to really make a story that's viable. I have to make this real, and I can't just float on it as if, well, I did serve, and you should give. And that's where these comments that, well, they're not hiring veterans, and they've not. Man, you got a company that's hiring 200 people. You got 25,000 applicants. There is other people that are applying. So, and who is to say that company didn't hire veterans? They might have been hiring for 3 positions. If they hired 2 veterans, that's 66%. You just happen to not be one of them. And it's frustrating. But, you know, I mean, I just don't think when people are going through it, they don't see it because there's an emotional attachment and they are being, you know, wronged. And I just think that people like you, people out there, even like Daniel, I mean, I got to talk to him, and I think he's a great guy. There's just so many, even Kurt Tiz. Everybody gives so much faith and hope into the veteran community, and these are the types of people you want to surround yourself with. And that's just the way I feel about that. But good statement.
I mean, that's the thing that I love about this community, and I tell people this all the time. I guess I don't know if it's just the industry or the folks we get to work with, but a lot of these folks that are clients are also people that I get some sound advice from. And it's one of those things that it's pretty awesome to be able to have not only a client, but somebody you can bounce ideas and business ideas off of and get coaching on. Yeah. It helps a lot. It helps you grow. And I think people need to learn that. If you're owning a business, don't be afraid to ask the people you work with how they got there. If they're bigger than you or wherever they're at. I mean, I get sound advice from, you know, so many people. It's so funny how I get it. It's just, you know, I ask. I have no problem. And a lot of people out there, they want to help. I think that's the one thing that's great about our community that you won't find in other communities is the fact that the veteran community, for the most part, we want to help each other because we believe a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep.
I generally know that for a fact because I have those conversations day in and day out with guys that are just killing it, and they're the most humble people on the earth when you talk to them. People are like, oh, they come across in an interview like this. And I'm like, yeah, but do you ever just ask them a question? You may not like this or that, but they're awesome to learn with. I mean, they're awesome to just hang out with and pick their brain. I mean, that's not what you start off with. It's like you can't just be like, hey, get on the phone and ask me 100 questions. Like, get to know me first, understand how I work, and understand how any of the guys out there. I mean, the cool thing about our community is a lot of these big CEOs of these $100 and $200 million companies, if you email them, they'll respond and they'll give you a couple minutes to chat with them. Yeah,
and I tell you what, and that's huge because I've taken advantage of that, if you will, and not in a negative way. I mean, I've taken advantage of the opportunity to have 15-minute conversations with people that for no reason should talk to me, right? Because you go to some of these other organizations that they're like, the CEO, he doesn't have time. He's doing this or he's got this. But I'm telling you, you got businesses that are $50 million, $100 million, $200 million businesses. And these guys are calling you on the phone and being like, hey, yeah, man, what's up? What can I do? How can we help? And I'm amazed by how it works out that way, because it's not the norm, right? But in this community, it's very amazing. And I think you're going to have those guys that are going to say, he's a jackass or whatever he's going to say. He's going to, I mean, and whatever. I don't mix up with that stuff. I stay around the positive folks, because that's who's going to help me, rise and I'm trying to help other people. I don't know the best way to get to where I'm going. So I'm finding those people to clear a path.
Yeah, what you're talking about, just real fast, you're talking about something I see all the time on social. And since I'm not typing this, I'll say it on video instead of typing it. I see it a lot, and I saw a lot in the Silicon Valley. I'm starting to see it in the vet community. People are so worried about their haters. I hear that, like, my haters. And I'm like, why are you a hater? I mean, half of you quote Gary Vee. Gary Vee says, number one, don't quote him. And two, don't worry about him. Like, they don't feed you, giving anybody who trolls you acknowledgement of it. It's a smile and wave, man. It's just easier. Like, I used to obsess and put stuff out on social, and it's stupid, right? And it probably hurt business at the end of the day, because I look like an idiot. So instead, I just shut my mouth and let those people do it, and I'll let our actions talk. I mean, thank God for folks who've given me that advice. But seriously, if you're out there and you're worried about what people are saying about you or your business, jealousy is the best form of flattery you can have out there. I tell that to my teenager. So I'll remind to tell vets, because I think sometimes we need to remind each other of that. But it's something that you do see. People get so fired up. Stay positive. Worry about what you're doing. Stay in your lane, and don't worry about the others. You're building you're building your business, not theirs. So I think that is something that people need to take away. We get so caught up in that. I know it's something that we learn in the military. Mm-hmm. We all know how, like, in the Marine Corps, we have the Lance Corporal Underground. Every branch has some sort of, passing the word or whatever they want to do. Don't worry about it. It's like, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about what people are doing or saying. They'll bring you into the business if they want. They'll work with you if they want. Not everybody's going to like you, but you still have a lot going on. And one of the other things that I wanted to bring up why I'm here is, this isn't what we've been talking about, is a lot about veteran and that some of the downsides of what we're doing. But on the positive note, there's a lot of businesses now that are really focused on veteran small businesses. And I think that's important that you're seeing. And I know it's happening with a hockey team that you're not a big fan of.
I'm not a big hater of them. That, to me, they're irrelevant, because they're not in the, I mean, I don't mean irrelevant. They're pretty relevant right now, right? But
hey, we're relevant right now. Go Caps.
But listen, the fact that they finally got past their nemesis, it was like the kryptonite, and they're playing good hockey.
Yeah. So, I mean, my point is if guys and gals and everybody out there in between, keep in mind, we're working with some big stuff. If you go look at what myself and our partners at GCO are doing right now, there's a co-op being built with professional sports teams that your small business can be a part of. Don't tell me that doesn't exist and you'll never get to the same level. And everybody, please stop comparing yourself to the big coffee company and the big t-shirt company in the veteran space.
Right.
Like, why? Like, that, are you going to, like, stop? Like, be you. Like, they're there. Don't hate on them. Their success is awesome. I love it. It's something to inspire all business owners. Be inspired by it. You don't go, I mean, it's the same way of being pissed off at Apple. I love their products and they get my money. Yay for me. My personal preference. Why don't I like Android? I just don't. I don't get pissy about it. It's the same way. People need to do that. But keep in mind, big brands want to work with small businesses. And over the coming months, you're going to see it at our level, and you're going to see it all over the place. So don't get frustrated. As part of this business is you're going to be frustrated a lot. And it's a roller coaster, right? I kid around. So I have time to tell a little story.
Oh, you can tell a story. Go ahead, man.
So I'm going to lay this out so you guys understand how hard this crap is. 1 week ago, I was freaking a train wreck on a Monday. Literally, like, in a corner, like, I was a wreck. Like, I hated everything. Like, the world was collapsing around me in the business sense of I was so stressed out and overwhelmed with so many balls flying in the air. And what was I going to do? And I have a great team, and I'm confident in that. but it's so overwhelming at time that you have so much going and you look at your desk and you're like, holy crap. And then there's, you know, you have your friends who are like, dude, that's good, you're busy. And you're like, yeah, but you don't have to try to get through this all in one day and also have a mission in your brain that's like, I want to be a good dad, I have baseball I have to monitor, I have all these things that I want to put as a priority that are just as important as my business. See, work-life balance is very important to me. It's just so funny that I was there and then Tuesday the roller coaster came to get up. So don't think anybody's untouchable. I know that I'm not the only person who sits as an owner of a company that's been in that corner like, I'm done. Like you're almost like, today I'm done. No, you walk away. It took me, you know, a couple hours. I still fought through. I got through the day and finished the week on a high note, came right into this week on a high note. It's all about, you know, understanding the peaks and valleys. You don't see that when you go into a job. You don't see a lot of it when you're in the military. You don't see that crappy part of it, right? That's where the leaders handle the crappy stuff. The generals handle that. We don't handle it. We handle it like, oh, crap. Freaking Private Smuckatelli fell out of run, so we're going to get tortured right now, right? That's like, oh, no, we failed. We're always going to fail field day. Shit, we knew that as Lance Corporals. That was always going to, Gunny was always going to come in and be like, you guys suck. And you're like, dude, there wasn't even dirt. You know there wasn't dirt, and you just went like this, like, see? And you're like, we go to watch. It's the same thing. So I tell people, just remember, there's a lot of things that we don't see, especially as you're becoming, and if you ever become an entrepreneur. All the things that you didn't know, like the CEO dealt with, whew, you learn about them real fast, and you're like, no, TV doesn't say CEOs. They drive the Lamborghinis, and they got the good life, and the sun's out, convertibles, and right? I mean, that's the CEO life.
The picture, man.
The picture, right? I mean, that's what it's like. I mean, I read Forbes. I mean, I'm a CEO.
Gotta do some work. Gotta do some work. Well, good. So let me ask you this. If you had one piece of advice to give to me as I make a transition out into whatever space I'm going into, what would you tell me as I'm getting ready to put my foot out the door into the world of the civilians?
It's funny. It's just like when you went into the fleet and they told you everything that you learned in boot camp was crap. Same thing. Everything that you've learned in transition or will learn in transition is pretty bunk. And keep in mind the structure that you had every day of your life is no more. Like there isn't someone who's telling you when to wake up. You got to do that yourself. There's not inspections. You don't have a uniform. You actually have to go do this. So it's take charge of yourself and take ownership in yourself is the advice I would do. And notes, make notes and drive yourself off task. And I'm talking, if you have to get granular, get granular. There's plenty of tools out there that you can use. But if you don't set tasks and goals for yourself to achieve, you're going to miss because you can't keep everything up here. It's not all going to hang out up here. It has to be on paper so you know what you're doing. Okay, this is what I'm going to do to achieve it and go. It's like a mission, right? Everything is a mission that we do. And if we think that way, we'll be much more successful. If we think, I'm just going to keep it here, I'm going to go do it, and suddenly you're laying in bed, middle of the night, it's 2 a.m., you pop up, oh, crap, I didn't do this, that, or the other, or you're not answering emails. It's all about being focused and being your boss. You be the entrepreneur of you, and you control what you're doing. If you're getting ready to transition out, start actually taking a serious look into what you want to be, and don't just fall for the typeset that seems to be set. For the infantry, I swear to God, everybody thinks we want to be in law enforcement.
A cop.
Right? Everybody. I'm going to be a cop because it's like, Jesus, we hate MPs when we're in the fleet. And all of a sudden, and I'm sorry, is it true or not? There's like 5 MPs I know that don't come out and act like MPs.
Right.
Let's just keep that real. That's how they are. Come on, that's just real. Everybody who's an MP just gets angry. Send me hate mail. But no, I think as you transition, that's one of the big things that you have to do and swallow your pride. I think that's a big. Oh, and the third one I'm going to do, and it's kind of humor, kind of not. Don't be a thank you for my service guy. Don't walk around and demand people thank you for your service. Please don't do that. It's embarrassing for the rest of us, and you actually are like the boot that you never wanted to be. You're behaving that way when you're walking around demanding people thank you for your service. Just go talk to any one of these guys that have our GWAT survivors that have the MOH. They don't behave that way, and they have all the reason in the world to behave that way. Your ass certainly doesn't. So don't walk around demanding people do it, and don't be, please, Don't be that veteran that says how bad civilians are. Please, they're not bad. You actually are one because you're technically a vet and you're not active duty. So, that's a big thing because a lot of us see it and I hear it and I kind of just like cringe when I mean, I even had this happen yesterday on the phone. Somebody was like, they obviously didn't know who they were talking to, and I'm not saying that like, oh, you should know, but they're like, when I was in the Corps, and they're like telling me how great, like they're, people, you need to know what I did, and I'm like, he's like, I'm a basic grunt. You're gonna have to slow it down for me, and I'm like, And he's like, you even know what that means? I'm like, yeah, they taught me in boot camp. I'm like, I know what means. Can you break down a little bit more? Tell me more about your service and how it was better than everyone else's in the Marine Corps. Super grunt. And then it turned out he wasn't even a grunt. He was a pogue. And I was like, bro, really? Really? Like, he had like the supply MOS. And I was like,
thank you.
I was like, only people who are worse than you are guys who are motor T. Calm the hell down, man. Like, be nice. So that's my sound 3 tips to follow.
Outstanding. All right. So I'm going to ask you, and you've told a couple, but I don't care. I want to hear one more. So I always have a "you can't make this stuff up" story at the end. Like I want to hear a story that you, and whether I like it to be based around the time that you served. So if there was a Marine story you could tell, and whether it's funny or I can't believe I was there. But yeah, go ahead. Tell me. I know you got one or 50, but come on. I like them.
Oh boy. I'm going to go way back because it's one. So many. Oh, I'm keeping them clean for TV too. There's like 20 in my head that I can't share. Shit. Okay, I'll go with one that I always go with. This is a boot camp story. We all like boot camp stories, right? That's like the best stories. I went into boot August 20th, 1994. So I was in T1. But 2 things happened. One, my first night on fire watch on T1, I was at the front hatch. Back hatch was a gentleman with the last name Mead. If you're watching, you suck. We were on the second deck, MCRD San Diego, which if you've ever been there, it's right across from Charles Lindbergh International Airport. It's the beginning of fire watch. He literally bounces out the back hatch, down the flight of stairs, and takes off. So I hear the hatch slam, boom, right? I look over, I go down. I went down the middle of the DI highway. But where's this guy going? Like, something happened? Like, oh, you know how in boot camp you're always waiting to be ambushed. Like, you're just figuring there's like evil DIs around, like lurking. I open the door and he's like booking straight towards the fences on the flight line. I'm like, so then I'm struck by the sense of 2 things. One, I probably should report that. And second, I have the fear of God. I got to go bang on the DI hut on the little wood panel that they have that. It's like worn out from people hitting it, and I'm like, the fear of God is like I'm raising my hand. I can feel. I just remember slapping it and him like yelling. You know how they all did. If you're in boot, you know your DI used to yell for the door like, "What?" You know, you're like, oh. Like, now I just woke up a pissed off Marine. Terrific. And I opened the door. He's like, "What the do you want, Mitchell?" And I'm like, sir. I was like, because I have the cue cards here because it's T1, so you still don't even know how to speak third person well. So you're like in between. Second, third, fourth, you're calling yourself a donkey. You don't know. I'm like looking at the card. He's like, speak civilian. And I'm like, me just took off, sir. He like literally ran. He's like, stay right here. And like, so he had to call all the MPs and all these officers are coming up. And I'm like, Johnny on the spot with my cue cards, like attention on like all these officers. I'm like attention on deck, every one of them. And the guy who's in front of, I was with 2nd Battalion. I was platoon 2042. Funny. This finally, the battalion, whoever was the freaking officer of the day walks in. He's like, somebody lock this recruit up. He's like, recruit, stand your post. Stop announcing people walking on. You're good. Just stand over there. And like, I'm the MPs are talking to me. So like, they're like, stop trying to speak in third person. I'm like, and then I said, it was like, I was a sergeant who was taking my report. And I'm like calling him sir. He's like, call me sergeant. I work for a living. I'm like, it's been like hours where I am. But anyways, that one happened, and then 2 weeks later, we're pounding canteens of water. But anyway, they caught that knucklehead. That knucklehead was from Sacramento, so I have to thank him a lot because I was from Sacramento, and we actually flew in the same plane together. So he flew home After he went, jumped all the flight, he made it across the flight line, hopped on a plane, flew to Sacramento. His girlfriend, whose father was a master guns, had of course been contacted, and they were waiting for him at the airport. And she snitched, and they found him. They brought him back. He got the BCD and walked out. You know, he was still, when we graduated in November, he was still in SEP's platoon. So that sucked for him. I didn't feel bad at all as I was getting that chow on that last day, and I saw him all in his, like, you know, platoon. And then the other story that I have, I get to tell too, is because
tell too.
Was this knucklehead next to me? We're pounding water, right? It's the thing to do in San Diego. Pounding water. It was right after noon chow, and we're at the position of attention, and he's like, "Put him down," and he was gonna come shake all of them. And the dude next to me blew chunks from here down. I was at the POA, and I'm just feeling the nastiness of. I've never been puked on in my entire life. I was 18. No one had ever puked on me. I did not have. I'd never been pooped on. None of that stuff. I hadn't even like if I have puked from partying, which you should not do if you're under the age of 21, you should never drink because of course I never did that before. I got vomited, and I'm literally there, and the DI comes sliding over. You know that little cool slide they do that's like drifting, but they somehow are perfect at stopping and coming right into your face. Just started screaming at me and why I didn't move. I didn't. I literally sat there and was vomited on. I mean, I have other stories, but that one still to this day. I don't know how I didn't punch the dude. Like right now, it was gross. It was like from here. I was like, who just is like projectile vomiting like that? Like it was just like head to toe. Like thanks, brother.
I would have threw up with him. If it would have been on me, I could see some of the craziest stuff in the world, but when I see that, I'm going with him. But hey, you were a disciplined Marine. You know that's pretty good. You didn't move.
And now, if I see my kid vomit, I'm like on the ground. Sit.
It's always different. It's different for me. It's different with the kids. Like they do it. Like I have a story about my kid, but anyway, that's a whole nother day. But yeah, it's horrible when I see them do stuff. I'm like, man. When I see grown folks do it, I gotta help. I mean, I can't help the grown folks, but I can help the kids. So it is what it is. Well, hey, so here's before we head out. What I want to know is if anybody wants to reach out to you and link up with you somehow, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Go to our Facebook page and message us. I actually still to this day, I'm the one that runs our Facebook. So we always like Facebook likes. And if you message us, we'll connect. Or if you just want to connect with me directly, you can go ahead and connect with me at eric@lifeflipmedia.com. I set up once a week, 25-minute mentoring sessions, or you can go on to Veterati and book time with me there. But I try to once a week have about 25 minutes for any vet that wants to sit down and pick my brain about media PR. I know it's hard when you're growing a business or trying to get into it. It's always fun to tell people some tricks to do when they're smaller or you can afford a PR firm.
Outstanding. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna link up for you with you for 25 minutes. But hey, I truly appreciate you. Oh, go ahead.
Might get 26.
26. I'm on it. But hey, the good thing is I'll be here in Orlando when the Influencers conference is here. So I'll be I'll meet you then, and I'll corner you and trap you to talk to you at that point too. But it'll be great. I'm looking forward to seeing you down here. But I really appreciate your time. I appreciate all the information you gave. I really, you had made mention of taking notes and doing some things, but it's kind of why I've created this podcast, to be 100% honest with you. As I was going through my transition, I don't like to write and I can't remember crap. So I figure if I record it, get some information from people, I can always go back and press play. But I also got notes too. So I got a whole bunch of them. I haven't put any of them into action, but I sure got notes for no, that's a complete joke. So anything else you want to say before we head out?
No, I'll see everybody in Orlando. Keep checking the feeds for announcements for Military Influencers Conference. There's some big ones coming up, including there's going to be some pretty awesome athletes there. Some big people in the veteran space will be attending. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be the biggest event yet. We're excited for it. And check out some announcements we have coming. End of the month, I'll tease one. We are about ready to launch our national partnership with the largest radio platform in the country. And we're running the biggest, there are 4 top shows we're going to run. So a lot of people tag them a lot. iHeartRadio, we're getting ready to launch with them. Excited for that, May 30th. You'll see some announcements coming from us, but I'll be in DC for that, so we're gonna have a big announcement. So be checking that out. We're gonna be putting veterans all over. So think of the big radio guys, and they're gonna go on there. It's a pretty big deal because they came to us, put this on there. So we're excited to be working with them. So I'll give you that little tip of advice.
That's outstanding, man. Congratulations. That's huge. Life Flip Media. That's awesome. I will be watching. So, hey, go out there and like the page and just follow them as they're going. Hey, much success to you. I'm a fan, and I want to see you be successful and continue climbing, boss. That's awesome. Thanks for your time, Eric. I truly appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. We'll see you again.